Okay. Big Six New Year. What are you doing here? Why isn't this working? Oh, because Pandora is typing. It's weird. Why it's doing that? And Melissa is calling me. Hold on. Let me take that. Okay, I'm back. I still don't know why I can't look at earlier messages here. Why is my scroll not working? Not week six or week seven. There we go. Okay, I actually changed the title of the like habit stacking write-ups from week seven reflect to week eight reflect. Because week seven isn't really, even though it asks you to look at your stuff and kind of look at what you're doing and dial it in a little bit more for the last 2 weeks. The last week is really meant to be kind of a reflection on everything that we've kind of done up to this point. So I changed the name of them. Um, Basically, what we were looking for on week seven is we're trying to take us almost to the most accountable, observable, measurable, and repeatable, accountable level of nutrition. hmm, I don't know. Uh, I don't want to use the word accountability, but basically like focus, intention, whatever you want to call it, that they're pretty much is available. Most of you have been doing MyFitnessPal up until this point, or some of you have been, but and some others are getting close to being ready to do MyFitnessPal. Um, Week seven was just meant to be kind of an introduction to what specifically are macronutrients for the people who don't know what those are, and kind of give people a jumping off point of um, what kind of macronutrient profile they should be using their calories towards. And the very beginning one, like I said last week, is somewhere around 40% of your calories should be coming from carbs, 30% from fat, 30% from protein. If any of you have been doing the lazy macros, your your percentage of protein is probably a little bit higher. It's probably more like 30 to 35% to try and hit that zero point 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight. But realistically, it's right around there. So if we were just doing macros in MyFitnessPal, this is where I would start most people. So that was kind of the goal there. Um, yeah. So any feedback, any questions, comments, concerns? I feel like the people that stay on these calls have been consistent and stayed on these calls are the ones who've done this too many times with me that they could probably do this with for me instead of me, but whatever. Questions, comments, concerns.
How frequently will we be doing this throughout the rest of the calendar year?
This nutrition one is intended to it's a nutrition only one. The next one's going to be a more of like a Fit Six 101, maybe a 102, depending on who wants to join it. Um, So specifically addressing nutrition with this level of like aggression, we won't do it again this year.
But it's
Unless someone,
inherent in
unless,
staying consistent with all of your Fit Six items.
right, there will be a nutrition portion of the next round, which will be a full Fit Six. And I, I I mean, there's only 6 people, 5 people on this call. I could do something specific for each person um, without much trouble. So, why do you ask? I think I know why, but why do you ask?
because I need something like this to keep my mind on track. Otherwise, my mind drifts off track. So I was
Well,
just curious
have you
what
been my fitness paling?
on and off, yeah. Not
So
100%.
so like realistically, you probably need my fitness pal as your level. But like week 7, week 6, week 7 of Nutrition 101
Yeah,
for the next round of this.
yeah.
Okay, no worries. We're gonna probably partner you up with either we'll put you. I mean, you already have your little side chat with Jenny and Lisa, so um, maybe we'll keep this chat. Oh, you know what might be kind of interesting is actually having a separate chat for F6 Nutrition and F6 101. Yeah, I might do that.
I'm curious why you think they need to be two separate tracks.
I don't think everyone is ready for the level of attention that the people that are still on this call are willing to give to their nutrition habits.
In my personal experience, it took having an individual partner or a set of like people, like-minded people, and that made me more ready to do that kind of stuff. So I don't know that it's necessarily
Hmm.
anyone's ever ready, but even before this one in prior years, having an individual person that I can communicate with on like a very regular basis is what helps me become more ready to do it. But
Okay.
you have to get it, you have to have like just like a class team, whatever, a partner project. If you have a not crappy partner, but someone that doesn't care about the project, then it you don't get as much out of it.
Yeah, I totally get that. Uh, um, okay, so that was week 7 macros and a little tiny little dive into micros. We didn't spend a whole lot of time on micronutrients, and there's a lot of pretty much all of the social fitfluencer media right now is talking about very tiny little micro details about stuff. Um, they're talking about like red dye 5 or whatever 40 whatever was banned recently when there are people that are like so worried about the sugar that in fruit that they're not eating fruit. And so we intentionally did not super deep dive into micronutrients because if you were focusing on quality first, which was week 1 and sort of 2 of this little nutrition intervention that people are participating in, and then pretty much throughout it, we added layers on top of that that just made it a little bit more refined, but still focused on the quality of the food that we were eating first. Then kind of looked at the amounts. Micronutrients tend to become less and less of a concern because you're eating. I don't know how many of you have tried since we brought it up, but 800 grams of fruits and vegetables per day is a crap ton of fruits and vegetables. So many. Basically, you could look at a single piece of fruit or vegetable, like a cup that's within your hand, as somewhere around 100 to 125 grams of fruits and or vegetables. Um, an apple, a banana is almost exactly 100 grams. Um, 6 bananas a day is kind of a lot, especially when you start to do vegetable stuff. Specifically, if you're a salad eater, leafy greens are volume wise take up are super airy, I guess I would say, but density wise are not that dense. So it's actually really, really hard to get 800 grams of fruits and vegetables a day. I'll come back to that in a second because I tried the app that UC Sinkowski put out, and I'll give you my thoughts on it in a second. So anyway, so that was last week. That's kind of what we were looking at, reflecting on kind of where you're at. Most people, I put a recommit thing in there. Most people have kind of fallen off the wagon somewhere around week 4 or 5, so maybe that should come a little bit earlier, but whatever. I did like when I was writing that, stretching your goal. So a lot of people, especially people like Stephanie, Elisa, I don't know who else is on this call. Hold on, let me take a little peek. There's many people who are on these calls that have done this with me before. Almost all of you, actually, all of you. Um, you've all heard most of this stuff before, so hopefully we've gotten you to a slightly further step in the progression, and we're still kind of hopefully pulling, asking for more from you. That's kind of the idea. So I like that stretching your goal in the last week or two of this, and then kind of reminding you that we're looking for the long game in the entire thing. That's cool. Um, let's talk about this week. So basically, this last week is intended for you to kind of like look at the past 7 weeks, 7, 8 weeks, look at what worked for you, look at what didn't, lock in the habits that are like super bang for your buck habits, like uh, every time you go work out, you have a protein shake with creatine and a banana afterwards, or something like that. Like those habit stacks are a big deal. Um, you can leverage those, and they are, oh, I forget the investing term for them, but basically like it's more than 1 + 1 = 2. It's like 1 + 1 = 4 kind of a thing. They're really important. Celebrate the wins, make some kind of maintenance plan. Something that I actually haven't talked about a lot in the past, when we do some of these nutrition interventions, is I don't ever talk about maintaining, and that, and kind of addressing Stephanie's question is like, well, what am I supposed to be doing if I'm not really I don't really intend on doing what we're going to cover this week, for example, um, nutrition timing. I just want to do what I'm already doing, but I want to be a little bit better about it. So make a plan and set that plan, share it with the people that you're going to be doing this with, so that way in the interim of, I don't remember, I think I started the next one in May. I don't think I intended to wait, excuse me, until June. I think I was going to start the next one in May. And 4 weeks is a really good like maintenance period, um, just to kind of like stop your, to give yourself a break from trying to be accountable all the time and being super intentional about everything all the time. We get tired of that stuff, and that's one another like reason why people tend to kind of lose steam or go off the, no, off the horse, no, off the rocker, whatever the saying is. Um, so it's good to kind of take a step back, like I did the past couple weeks, and enjoyed my time and just did the best I could. And starting this week, I'll be ready to get back after it, probably more aggressively than I probably would have been if I didn't take that time off. So that's kind of the habit reflection write up. Yeah. Any questions before we kind of talk about our specific nutrition focus for this upcoming and last week? I don't believe you. None. All right. All right. So if you've been following this up to this point, we've done almost 8 weeks of um, progressively more intentional layering of nutrition, targets, focuses, strategies, trying to get people the most they can out of their nutrition piece of their Fit Sixes. The only things we haven't really talked about, which are like in the scheme of things, not nearly as important as the stuff that we've already talked about, are supplements and nutrient timing. Supplements, if you've been listening to EC Sinkowski's podcast, or pretty much anyone who is mm, I want to be careful with my words. I'm not even going to say that. Supplements tend to be, supplements should be your very last, like, okay, I've got all this other stuff dialed in. What else can I possibly do to get that last 1 to 3% improvement or addition to my fitness out of my specifically my nutrition. That's kind of where supplements come into the fold, except protein and creatine. We didn't talk about those earlier. Most of you are doing some of that stuff already, specifically protein supplementing, because it's really difficult to get that zero 0.7, zero 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight of protein per day without doing a protein supplement. You have to eat a lot, and you have to. It's difficult if you're not eating lean meats and things like that. So it's really hard to meet your macros without a protein supplement. So most of you are already on that boat. We didn't talk about creatine. Um, it kind of sounds resoundingly like creatine is safe, effective, and almost a uh, must take for everybody. So if you're not, and that's based on not just like a tiny little gym community, but like it is widely being accepted now, essentially, that creatine is a really impactful supplement for everybody to be taking um, on every both ends and everything in between of the spectrum. So if you're not taking creatine, you should be, unless you have. I can't actually take creatine, or at least in creatine monohydrate, which is how I would suggest most people take it. It really upsets my stomach. Unless I spread it out, like if I spread out 5 grams into 4 different servings, my stomach is not that upset, but like 2.5 grams in a single serving wrecks my stomach. So there is a consideration to be said, like if it bothers your stomach, be careful, especially if you know you have stomach stuff. Um, be mindful of that. They have it in a bunch of different forms. I tried creatine glycinate, no, not glycinate. I forget.
A
There's another.
non-powder form.
It was still a powder form. It was more of a salty look, but it tasted awful. And so I like it didn't matter what I put it in, I couldn't mask it, and there was no way I was going to ever take it consistently, so I just gave up on it. And in the end, again, that's all we're looking for, right? Is stuff that we're going to do consistently. So we're trying to build those habits, make them easy, build the environment that's going to make this stuff accessible all the time. So they also make creatine gummies. I think most of those are in a 3 gram serving size. And realistically, most people should be taking at least 5. And if you're like a 200 plus pound man, 200 plus pound man, maybe up to 10 grams per day. So somewhere in that range, it's kind of hard to get, and the gummies are almost always more expensive. And if you can do it in the powder form, it's so much cheaper if you want to do that. But um,
Is there a quantity that's too much, or your stomach will tell you if it's too much?
I there has okay, I've seen studies that have had like 20 up to 40 grams of creatine supplementation a day. I don't remember the length of time that those people were doing that in. The fact that they're able to do that means that passed I forget the board that decides whether a study is allowed or not, meaning it's probably not dangerous, but I would imagine at those dosages, your stomach is going to go ballistic. I think is the problem, and it kind of I've heard people hint at that, and I would assume that that is probably the indication. I would just titrate up. Like I would start somewhere between 3 to 5. If you've never taken creatine, take like 3 to 5 grams of monohydrate a day. Doesn't matter when you take them. You don't have to do. There's no loading phase necessary. People used to think that that was a big deal. They've pretty much just proven that. Um, and then titrate up to whatever is appropriate for you. For me, as a 190-pound man, I would consider maybe 7 or 8 grams per day, but I just take 5 and I spread it out across the day.
And
Well, I
you could potentially gain a little bit of weight.
sorry.
Yeah, one of the you're almost certainly going to gain weight because essentially similar to carbohydrates in your body, um, it holds water. It holds. Uh, I guess the simplest way to say that is for you guys is it holds on to water more, so you're going to gain some weight. Um, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
I was just gonna say that I've looked into those gummies because I like gummies and they have a bunch of additives also in them, like
Yeah,
sugary things.
I wouldn't be super concerned with that. What I actually would be more concerned with is no single supplement, even the ones that we sell and endorse at the gym, like Ascent, um, Nutrilife, whatever. It doesn't matter. No single supplement is actually mm, regulated, no, overseen by, um, vetted. I would use the word I would use is vetted. No single supplement that is on the market is vetted by the FDA for its safety and efficacy. Um, there are third-party organizations that will do that, and the better supplements will send their stuff to those organizations. Still does not necessarily guarantee that they are doing what they say they're doing. And like, for example, one of the ones I love to use is melatonin. There was a case like a mega, or no, not mega. What was it called? Uh, Meta-analysis. There was a meta-analysis on um, uh, melatonin concentrations in, I don't know, 100 different supplements that were claiming that they were or proposing themselves as melatonin supplements. And the concentration in, I don't remember the exact numbers. Let's just say it was a 5 milligram melatonin supplement and it was a chewable pill, let's say. They tested 100 different versions of these. Some had as little as 0.05 milligrams of melatonin, and some had as high as 500, 5,000, 500, 5. I think it was 5. No, that's too high. 5. That's even too high. 500 milligrams. It was massive. The spread in the concentrations of melatonin that these people were saying were in their products. So you have to be really careful when you're doing supplements. Um, Not to mention that most of them have never been consistently peer reviewed and and have research supporting them. Protein and creatine are the only two really that are like massively studied and consistently show that they do what they're saying that they're doing. And you should be trying to consume those supplements in their most natural, pure form, I guess. Because as soon as you start putting gummies together, for example, of creatine, you're putting all sorts of other stuff that you have no idea what's in them, really. So you got to be careful. Yes. ¿Qué más? ¿Qué sigue?
I'm glad you clarified that, Will, because a very shallow dive that I did into creatine said that when you take it during the day is important, like maybe right after exercise, and also that the results are temporary. So I got it and I started taking it, but I wasn't really committed to it because of those things.
Um, as far as I know, the time of day, especially if you are consistently taking it, basically it's kind of like um, what would I equate that to? There is an upper limit of how much creatine your body is going to be able to hold on to, and beyond that, it's just going to get rid of it. So up to that threshold, um, that's kind of why they used to think that you needed a loading phase to get you to your physiological threshold of what you're able to hold on to. And past that, it doesn't really do, your body just gets rid of it. So if you're just like, if you're not, and I still don't necessarily recommend loading, I would just say take your 3 to 5 grams per day, especially for someone as small as you. You will get to your body's supra physiological max within a week or two. And then if you just consistently take it after that, it doesn't matter. And you don't have to cycle on and off of it either. What was the other thing that you said?
Or that the effects are temporary. Like,
Temporary. That is not wrong in the sense that if you look at how the phosphocreatine system pathway works in your body, if you have more creatine available to do that reaction, we're getting too deep. It's temporary in the sense that, like, if your physiological concentration of phosphocreatine decreases back to a normal level based on just regular nutrition, it's temporary in that sense. The extra that you gained by supplementing creatine goes away.
The extra what you gained.
The extra capacity, let's say. Creatine's the PCR system is involved in a lot of different things. Let's just say we're only concerned with athletic performance. It definitely adds to athletic performance. And if you went from taking creatine or not taking creatine to adding creatine to your regimen, and you've reached your physiological max or tolerance or threshold, and you just get rid of the rest of it, there will be a specific to strength and short bursts of effort, energy, intensity. There will be an increase in your performance in those things. That, I don't know what the increase would be. Let's just say 5 to 10% increase. And specifically, though, in that tiny little area section of your athletic performance, that is what's transient. That's
Yeah,
it.
but I mean, that's kind of like being hydrated or not. It's, you could, if you drink sufficient amount of water that you're hydrated and you have, it's like, it's only as good as your body's conditioned to use it. Right? Like, does that make, like, it's helping your body perform, but if your body doesn't have it anymore, then how could it have a long-term impact?
Yeah, I guess the best way to think about that, and it's not like we're not talking about like doubling your back squat, right? We're talking about like maybe 1 to 3% extra on top of what you already potentially could have done. And it's not even necessarily in like a 1 rep max kind of effort territory. It's more in like a repeated bout. Like we just did like those 2 front squats on the 3 minutes for 8 or 10 sets or something like that, right? I think it was 10 sets. It was 30 minutes on the 3 minutes for 2 reps. That's where you would see creatine supplementation improve your performance, and it would not be by 50%. It would be by 3, 5, maybe 10%, kind of a thing. It's a very narrow range effort intensity that creatine really helps it.
If it's that
Well,
not insignificant, but if it's that small, couldn't people easily just say, well, why do I need it? It's not going to help me now.
Yeah, and I actually meant to follow it up. They're starting to find like beyond athletic performance, they're starting to find benefits of supplementing with creatine beyond just training and performance. Like this stuff's still new, but like people are going as far as saying like in some of these papers they're proposing staving off Alzheimer's and dementia kind of a thing. And I don't know enough about that kind of I haven't read enough about that stuff to speak to it, but I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. I'm curious how they're correlating those two things. Like I'm curious if any of the limitations in any of those papers are just like, oh, the people that are taking supplemental creatine are also probably more physically active and taking better care of their bodies and getting more sleep and things like that. So I don't know. I haven't read any of those papers, but um, it seems like there might be a further reaching effect than just athletic performance for supplementing with creatine,
Well, I'm
which is kind of cool.
definitely for protecting brain health. So that's great. I guess the impression that I got was that like bodybuilders and people who are doing like Mr. Olympia would take creatine to like bulk up for the competition, like for the cosmetics of it. But I think if I understand what you're saying, well, is that it would increase performance so that the muscle that you gain doing more work on a regular basis is going to be like a long-term gain. You,
Yeah, it's essentially like letting you train harder, lift heavier, move faster.
and that benefit is gonna it's that benefit's gonna stay even if the creatine's gone.
Exactly. Because because the results of those things are not it's not dependent on the intensity in that single training session is dependent on the creatine supplementation, let's just say. The result of that training session is not dependent on the creatine supplementation. You did the work. You asked your body to, I need this. Please improve this so that I can continue moving forward with that. So yeah, I guess it's a really good distinction between those kind of ideas.
Can I ask one other thing about protein supplements? Because
Hmm.
I feel like when I need to take a protein supplement to make my protein for the day, it feels like, oh, because I'm not getting it from like somehow that's like that's the opposite of a win. I won't say a defeat, but like the opposite of a win. Like, oh, I have to fall back on it. And because um, protein supplements are like processed food rather than whole food, it feels like somehow you're feeding the whole idea of eating like clean. So could you just
Yeah. Um, I've kind of had to deal with this myself. I have a really hard time. How do I say this? I have a really hard time getting my protein in on a daily basis because I'm not hungry enough to eat as much as it requires. Um, although actually now that I've said that, I think I figured out how to trick myself into eating more protein. Um, but with that said, I was having when I was being really good and on top of everything before I kind of before the open, no, basically into the end of the open and before my trips, I was having a protein shake with every single meal because otherwise I wasn't getting close. That's not true. I would get close. So like depends on I would look at how much I would consume with physical real whole foods and then I'd be like, okay, 50 or so plus, I don't need a protein shake. If I was somewhere between 30 to 50 grams, I would have a protein shake with that meal. Um, the people that I trust and respect and listen to and read and the research, it seems like um, protein supplementation from of any kind, collagen, bone broth. I forget what Stephanie's using that I kind of talked a little trash about because it was super bougie, but um, pea
I have stomach
protein,
issues, but yes.
Vega. Yeah, like it seems not to matter the closer you get to 0.7, 0.8, 1 gram per pound of body weight per day. The source of the protein seems to matter less and less and less the closer you get to that number, is what it seems like in the research, in the people that I follow, etc. So don't feel bad is kind of is the takeaway.
Got it.
Cool. Anything
Nami,
else before?
I
Go,
used
go,
to
Steph.
like come on, man. I used to eat two protein shakes a day for like two supplemental meals. And I've tried to focus on only having one and then eating like a whole food meal as the other one because I wouldn't feel as full. The liquid food doesn't like satiate me the same way. And so even though I was hitting my protein, I just felt like I ended up eating more in a subsequent meal because I didn't have I just didn't feel as full. But I just had to be careful if I'm eating. Usually, I'm eating some type of meat, like ideally lean protein as my protein, that I'm not eating something that's too high fat. So if I'm not going to like beef or something, because then there's more fat in like it throws off the macros. It's easier to control the macros if I'm eating a protein supplement.
Another benefit of that for sure. Yeah, I'd rather have like 4 ounces of steak and a protein shake than 6 to 7 ounces of fatty, delicious ribeye, you know?
It's what you rather have or what you probably are better off having.
I was kidding, but it's better for me if I have 3 to 3.5, 4.5 ounces of delicious ribeye and a protein shake than it is because, like you said, fats accumulate quickly, and especially those fats. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. The last thing that we're going to talk about today is, oh no, second to last thing, but this one's even less. What percentages I put on this? Hypothetical percentages I just made up. I didn't even put anything on supplements. Nutrient timing. So there's this company called RP Strength or Renaissance Periodization, that like if you've got your quality, your quantity, you've done macros regularly, and you're looking for an even higher level of accountability and specificity, this is kind of where I would take you next. And Stephanie's actually I don't I don't know when and how this happened, but Stephanie was kind of like my first person I ever worked with on nutrition stuff, and I put her through a version of RP Strength. I did my own. I modified some numbers and did this, that, and the other. But um, when she was being super strong with that, um, she it was a big deal. I mean, she completely changed her body, and her performance not only like stayed the same but increased. She was like, I think she was getting ready for a powerlifting meet or something like that. She set national or world records in whatever federation it was. I don't remember. At the lightest she'd ever been or something like that. I don't know. I've done RP Strength. Melissa has done RP Strength. A lot of people who have done it with me that have actually done it. This is like the last, like lean cut, whatever phase that you want to call it. If you've got everything else dialed in, and essentially all it's doing is it's kind of taking this idea, this principle of you need your carbohydrates the most pre, intra, and post workout to fuel that training session, so you can maximize the intensity, similar to what we were talking about with the creatine with Nami. Maximize the intensity of the training session so you elicit the maximum physiological adaptation from that training session. And then the further away you get from a training session, the less you need those carbohydrates. Like we're not doing anything super high intense in the rest of our days, we're walking around, we're getting up and down out of our chair to go to the bathroom or get some food or walk the dog, right? Those are low level intensities. We don't need carbohydrates accessible, a high amount of them accessible. So we kind of like skew our nutrients towards fats because those are the lower level intensity nutrient substrates that our body uses. And then the idea being like, it's still a lot of food. If you've ever done, oh, none of you, Steph is the only one that's done RP, is still more food than most people are used to. But by this point in the progression, most people are kind of understanding, oh my gosh, this is way more fruits and vegetables than I've ever been accustomed to eating. This is way more physical, like tangible, real whole food protein than I'm used to eating, blah, 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 blah. My biggest like whoa from this was the carbs in and around the meal, like, or in and around your training session. You have to, they suggest, you don't have to do it this way. I think Stephanie already mentioned this in a couple previous call. She has like most people have protein powder. There's carbohydrate powders that she puts in her coffee protein drink that she has in the morning, so that there's like very easily accessible carbohydrates for that training session. So there's no lack of fuel, let's say. And I wrote on the write-up, while only contributing less than 5% of your nutrient results, I actually would argue it's probably even less than that. It's like 1 to 3%. But this is like you're getting ready for competition, specifically one that is weight focused, or you need to go on stage because you're a bodybuilder kind of strategy. That's where this kind of comes in. And if you're ready for it, I put a little develop the habit there. Basically, tapering the carbohydrates away from your training session and then increasing the fats, still following your total amounts of macros that are allowed per day, but being a little bit more specific about when you use them, if that makes sense.
Maybe I'll try that next time or soon.
You're not even weighing and measuring your food.
Yeah, maybe I'll try that next time.
Okay.
No, but I kind of eat, I mean, yeah, without weighing and measuring things, it's like a leftover of doing that for so long that I eat carb things and I'm eating fruit and carb-based things but things that are low in fat in the morning. And then as the middle of the day, then I'll start to introduce things that have, I honestly like not very much fat at lunch, but by dinner is the meal that has fat that doesn't have carbs. So like it generally is that pattern. I'm not like checking to see that I hit X grams of fat for dinner and did I not have any, but by having a protein shake and fruit with my after the gym and not have anything that has fat in it, I'm basically doing pretty close to what those were anyway. It's like the biggest change I think for me, and what I would think that if somebody was going to try it, is if you're the kind of person that likes to have like bacon or sausage with your breakfast and you work out in the morning, that's probably not what you pick.
Yeah, you don't get to do that.
Or even milk because it has fat in it. Like, so even things that, or dairy, like things that have any fat, because I kind of recall it was pretty tight on how much fat you could have in the earlier part of the day. It
Yeah,
was closer to your workout time.
And it's not like, it's not saying, I mean, I'm introducing this as the general concept of that. I'm not saying like, yeah, you can go from where we were last week with doing MyFitnessPal and macros and micros and calories in and calories out. There is a step between that and doing RP where you're just being a little bit more cognizant of carbohydrates around your training session and tapering off, and fats increasing away the further away you are. So it would just be flipped if you're training in the evening. It's just flipped. And then there is the RP, like fully accountable. Use their app. They're actually when I first started doing these things, there was not an app, and I think the app is awesome because when we first started doing them with Stephanie, for example, they had a single template that was like 6 quote unquote meals per day, and you spread all of your nutrients out across those meals. Now, granted, not all of them were actually true meals. One of them was a training session shake, and I believe the evening one was something very close to similar to that. So you're really eating 4 meals, but it doesn't matter. The app now lets you do any number of meals, depending on when you want to train, between like 2 or 3 and 6 or 5 or 6 meals a day. So it's really cool. They've come a long way, and I really like. I think Umberto and Danny are doing that right now. So it's cool.
They like it. They like
Yeah, they like it. They like the app. All right. I got to get out of here. So let's just quickly go over week 9, which we aren't having one. It's basically just part of the Fit Sixes, but I think that this belongs in a nutrition discussion. Drink more water, drink less alcohol. So that way we can get to the app and the 3 Pillars Method app, and I can kind of get going here with that. Any questions about drinking more water and drinking less alcohol? Do we all understand and agree that that is what we should be doing? Good. Good job. Good answers. Okay. Jenny, are you there?
Yes.
Have you opened that app? Because you guys get a trial period.
No, do I have to put in my credit card info for the trial because that's what I didn't want to do?
I don't know. I didn't. I bought it without even paying attention to that because I knew I was going to look at it so I could tell people about it. So I don't know the answer to that.
Just tell me about it, please.
Who else is interested in this besides Jenny?
What does it even do?
Who else?
Well, I don't even know what this thing does. Like, what is it? How does it help you?
Oh, cool. I'm on my phone.
I'm trying to figure out if it's like a less step. I think it's like a more broken down version of basically tracking macros because she has like 3 different steps. First, it's the 800-gram challenge. Then it's lazy macros. And then I think it's,
How do I share my screen? I haven't done this in a while.
I don't know.
Oh, screen. Here we go. Everything on your screen, including notifications, will be recorded. Enable. Okay, I guess this is what I want to do. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But we can see your screen.
We can see.
Oh man, what is my freaking password? Oh, cool. Okay, here's the app. So when it's not an actual app, I'm going to bookmark this onto my home screen, which isn't the end of the world. I don't really care. That's not an app. Yeah, and then it opens to this page. It's the meal of the day. It gives you, which I love this actually. It's kind of an interesting idea with the workout of the day, but people can submit these, whatever, it doesn't matter. What I actually care about is the diary. So what I love about this app is it gives you a little, I'm going to suggest that she doesn't put so much of this data in here. Did you guys see all that? Can you see all this?
I
This
would
is a
never
little-
read any of this.
Yeah.
This is so heavy for the casual user that is like, I have a lot of experience reading scientific articles about like this, and this was still kind of like, I don't really want to deal with this. But anyway, I'm going to suggest that she doesn't do that. Where this is kind of, oh, it's not letting me do it. Bummer. Where do I do that? Let's just say complete. Then it goes to the next day. Wait a second, what the hell? Ah, here we go, diary. So this is the logging portion of this app. What do you think?
Okay. Can you log something? And then
What
like
do you, what's your initial impression of this page?
it's gonna go up to fill the circle to the 800 grams.
Okay, so you have an Apple Watch. All right, let's do that.
Well, how do you know? You have to measure it. You have to weigh it.
You have to weigh it.
You can't just
So
say one banana and then it tells you it's 100 grams. You have
you
to.
have to weigh it, which I don't not like, because part of this whole exercise is getting acquainted with how much things actually weigh. Fine. Let's just say 600 grams of vegetables. I had 5 cups of vegetables. And there you go. I'm 3/4 of the way there. I've almost filled my what's the Apple Watch call them? Circles? No. Bubbles, whatever. And then I could add another 200 grams of fruit, let's just say. Cool, I did it
But
for today.
it doesn't work like if you said a half a cup of blueberries. Like you have to look up what does a half a cup of blueberries weigh.
Correct.
I don't like it.
And it also doesn't care what else you eat. It's just focusing, well, the initial part of it is just focusing on the 800 grams.
And so, like we talked about in the earlier stages of this, if people just, and I like this because of that, if people are not comfortable weighing and measuring their food already, and you just want them to have more fruits and vegetables, this simplifies that. It doesn't give you as much noise as MyFitnessPal gives you. So I actually do like, as like unfulfilled as I feel like this with this, I should say, for a lot of people who have not done any of this kind of stuff, this is probably a really good place to start.
I think
I don't have
for
access.
somebody that doesn't know yet whether they're consuming that much in fruit and vegetables. Like if they're trying to develop the habit, then yes, because then they're focusing on that in particular.
Right. And like if you think about this, if you take somebody who's never done any kind of nutrition intervention before, or maybe has but not been super successful, just let them eat all that they want, but get this in first. And if you've ever listened to her talk about this stuff, basically, and what I've talked about, you're going to find out that there isn't room for a whole bunch of crap if you're eating 800 grams of fruits and vegetables. You run out of room. So if you start making sure you're trying to get this stuff in first, it kind of solves quite a bit of problems with people's nutrition. And I like that. I would assume the protein works kind of the same way. Maybe you have 2 things that you have to fill. And then, because I don't have access to all of that stuff now because I just bought it and I'm still in the first 30 days. Once I've done the first 30 days of 800 grams, the next 30 days of 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of body weight, per pound of body weight, per pound of body weight protein. The following 30 days plus is essentially supposed to be calories in and calories out. Very similar to how we've already looked at this. So I don't know. If you're someone who already uses MyFitnessPal, I don't know how much more valuable this app is than what you already have. If you don't use MyFitnessPal, I think this is a really good place to start. And that's my take.
I agree.
Jenny, do you weigh your food in grams?
Yes, I do weigh my food in grams, but like this isn't for me. I don't know. It's before MyFitnessPal, but also it's a lot of money. Like MyFitnessPal is
Free.
who is she trying to sell this app to? I understand it's very beneficial. But I don't know.
I think she's selling it to people who
Can anybody else hear? Or did it drop?
I
Couldn't hear anything for a while.
Okay, I didn't either, and I didn't know if my computer froze or Will froze.
Me too.
Okay.
Will, are you still there? We can't hear you. Will.
Demi, I agree with you that it could be helpful to somebody that is trying to focus on their 800 grams. But
I
I feel like there are other, like, I don't know that you need the app to be able to do that, because you could do the same thing in MyFitnessPal, couldn't you? Measure things in grams.
Yes, and it shows you all, you can measure things in grams and it shows you all the micronutrients. It doesn't show you fruits and veggies, but whatever, it shows you fiber and all the other stuff. This is a $400 sign up thing.
That's expensive. Oh my
I don't know if she has a master class that she leads that I would be interested in, but I think it goes over everything. Anyways, I don't know. It's just, I don't know who's buying this for that amount of money to do. I don't know. I don't want to.
If you have that amount of money, like spend it on a different type of like there are probably other tracking systems that could do the same thing. So like what is the benefit of this over those other
Maybe
things?
for someone who like MyFitnessPal is like super overwhelming too. Like if it's just like
Yeah.
too much or like too many ads and they can't like navigate it.
Mhm.
Yeah. I definitely understand the benefits. I just also like, I'm assuming that people who are buying this also listen to her podcast and whatever other content she releases, and she talks about all of this all the time.
Maybe it's just a bunch of fitness nerds.
Maybe.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
I don't know when I got kicked off.
a long time ago.
Oh, I was just talking to myself in the
Yeah.
screen.
A
Did
long
you not
time
hear
ago.
us all talking over you?
No.
Oh, funny. Okay.
All right. Well, that's that. Unless anyone has any questions,
We moved on without you. Don't worry. You
that's fine.
taught us to be self-sufficient.
That's the goal. That's literally the whole goal.
We made it.
How much is the app?
It's kind of expensive. If you use the spring 25, I think is the coupon code. It's like $397 for the year. It's expensive.
That's a lot more than MyFitnessPal.
Yeah, a lot more than zero, right? So I don't know. All right.
Well,
Anything else?
Will, I need to ask you something, but when it's not recording.
You
And
can. I'll
after.
text, like phone call or text.
It's fine on here. I just need to ask you to do a favor. I need to do a quick little welfare check.
You need me to take a picture of my truck?
No, that would be fun though.
All right. Anything else?
Truck.
All right. I am officially, hold on, stopping recording.